a test. This is the actual interview.
I'm here with Scott Lobdell, the amazing writer behind Red Hood and Arsenal. You had your hand in Doomed, and we started this amazing epic journey with the Doom virus. You also had your hand in Convergence as well. So let's go ahead. Since last time we talked, actually, Doom 1 had just came out. Actually, no, it might have been a little past that when we were at Long Beach Comic Expo. I think we were halfway into...
I wish we could do that thing like on Gilligan's Island where it goes all wavy and then suddenly we're
Oh,
back.
yeah, flashes
Then
back and we're just
there,
standing
like,
there.
Hey, I remember we talked about that. And
But yeah,
you know,
for those that
what
didn't...
issues are out today? You know?
For those that didn't catch up with Doomed,
I think everybody did, though.
did everybody?
Oh, yeah, everybody. It actually was one of the few Superman New 52 books that went back to second printing for all the books.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually, I was missing one of the issues, and you were like, here, this is the only one you're missing. You ended up having.
I gave you the issue?
Yes,
Oh, that
it
is
was
so
awesome.
sweet.
But I'd love to.
Did I charge for it or
you
no?
didn't.
No.
You
Oh.
didn't. Most probably would have. I'm not gonna lie.
If I had known you needed it that desperately, I would definitely have charged
We
twice as much.
with the Doom virus. It was literally Superman traveling through space and almost trying to control the virus. Obviously, with the jump from Doom, we went into Convergence. What part of Convergence did you have your hand in with this 0 to 8 issue story arc?
Well, I guess it was twofold because at one point, the actual concept behind Convergence came directly from Dan Didio.
Okay.
And so he kind of pitched it out and then said, can you turn this into like a 9-issue breakdown for a 9-issue story? And I said,
Yeah.
sure. And I went off and I wrote it. It took about a week or two. And then I didn't hear anything for about 4 months. And then they said, Jeff King was here and he responded really strongly to the material. So he's going to take your outline and work the plots through the outline. And then because while Jeff is a very talented television producer and director, he had a learning curve that he had to go through for the actual writing of a comic book.
Yeah.
And so I was then brought back in to, kind of just help him form the pages, So,
'Cause,
it's definitely its own art. It's
Yeah.
its own art that people don't necessarily... I'm somebody who I've written TV pilots, I've written feature films, I've written comic books, and they're just very different beasts.
We
So-
actually got to talk about you writing the script for, I believe it was it Bringing Down the House? Or was it
Man of the House,
Man of the
yes.
House. We
Which
talked
did bring
about
down the house. That's why you were confused.
But it definitely is a big difference, especially with Jeff King coming on. He was more known for basically just the TV series stuff. So reading his script, since you were able to not only write comic book scripts as well as television and movie scripts, was the transition like to help him out back here? Like you're almost like the editor at that point, or was it just like
I wouldn't say I was the editor, but I would say that I was. It's just a matter of like, there's so much. There's kind of a rules that you learn early on in comics. Denny O'Neil taught me that most comic book pages are 6 panels a page, and most word balloons are no more than 35 words. Per, and so there's kind of like a mathematical equationness that goes on in comic books. Like when I wound up following Chris Claremont, the opposite was true. Like, you could have whatever panels, but you could have like, 15 panels per page, even if like one panel was only, 2 words or something. And so there's just kind of a certain mechanics, but it's the same that goes into, writing a movie. If you notice most movies, when they have a 2 characters sitting down to talk, whether it's on a doorstep or in a car or in a diner, most of the time it mostly doesn't go more than 2 minutes, which is 2 pages of script. And sometimes if you're in the audience and you're watching it, you can feel when you get to like the 2-minute mark, you're like, okay, it's not always true because TV, the budget is smaller, so having 2 people talk is a lot cheaper than having them do anything else. But so like I said, there's just different mathematical equations that go into writing any type of scripted form, whether
Yeah.
it's whether it's animation, sitcoms, movies, comic books. So.
With Convergence, was it the idea of, hey, like, we might want to expand the universe just because we love the old continuity, we love the new continuity, let's try and mix and match everything together? Or was it just like, you know what, I have this wacky idea that maybe we should go beyond like the 52 Earths that we have? Do you guys maybe want to go down this route? How did it really come out?
Well, that was a publishing decision. So it was more rather than the point of view of a writer presenting them with this notion of that. It was more that they decided that there's no reason to, throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, we have the baby, we have the bathwater. Why not?
Yeah. And it seems like with
I guess you change the bathwater because that would be gross. But,
well, you could. Well, it depends on what day and age it was.
yeah, and maybe you can bring in another baby. Like, if you have one baby and it's kind of clean, then maybe you can squeeze one more baby.
Yeah, just one more baby and you're good to go.
Otherwise, you're like. So I think that's what happened. Was basically they were baby washing, and I'm just going to keep going.
And then with the end product of Convergence, we now have beyond, I don't even know how many titles at this point, but one of the titles that did come out, and it was an interesting concept. It didn't feel like Convergence really had a hand in it, but it was still something that did happen after, which is we broke up Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Yeah.
It is now Starfire on her own comic, which you do not have your hand in, but you are writing Red Hood and Arsenal.
Yes.
How was that idea brought to you? Was it like, hey, we kind of want to break up this trio that, you at first took on, and you're like, hey, I want to go down this route. Same thing with Teen Titans. It was like, hey, I want these things. And like, no, we're giving you this. And you're like, but I want to go this way. And it's like, no, we're giving you this. They gave it to you. You ran with it, and they were spectacular runs. At this point, what was the idea of like, all right, well, you're breaking it up. How do I go about
it's funny.
this?
They didn't tell me. What they said was, we want to relaunch Red Hood and the Outlaws as a buddy book with Red Hood and Arsenal. And I thought, okay, well, that's kind of, even if Red Hood and the Outlaws was going to issue 50 or issue 75 or issue 100, my goal was always to use Red Hood and the Outlaws as an avenue for, like, at one point I wanted to phase out Roy and Corey and bring in Ravager and Crux. And to me, the notion is that the outlaw part should be organic. And, as he, not that it's a Mission Impossible thing where he would, like, pick people, but the notion that sometimes it's going to be
some other outlaws.
Yeah, two other outlaws. It could be whoever. And so that is, at one point I wish I could make one of the outlaws Joker, which would be kind of a whole,
Yeah.
And so that didn't, so I was like, okay, Red Hood and Arsenal, that's fine. I didn't think anything of losing Corey because my feeling is a book. I think any comic book should not look the same at issue 25 that it did at issue 1.
Yeah.
It shouldn't look the same at issue 50 that it is at 25, or if not, you're writing really, really boring stories.
Yeah.
And so, so then when I did that, then I was at a meeting and somebody said, oh yeah, and then the Starfire book is coming out. I'm like, what? So, but I don't feel a proprietary sense about characters. I just, they're company characters and they should,
It seems like we're getting close to concluding the first story arc with Red Hood and Arsenal. Uh-huh. What's going to happen in the next story arc that's coming out?
It's funny you asked that. Do you watch Ray Donovan?
I do, actually. Yeah,
Great show, right?
Yeah.
The thing
he's
is,
like what is he? He's not a hitman. He's a fixer. That's what it is.
Yeah. And I think the first arc of Red and the Outlaws kind of felt a little Lethal Weapon.
Okay, yeah.
Whereas I think the next 6 issues is going to tonally feel completely different. It's going to feel like an LA noir story.
Well, it did feel like in the first story arc, it actually felt more like Rush Hour. Like these two people that are like mixed match, and they're not really set for each other, but they totally have the same goal in mind, and they end up being able to conquer it. So now that we're going down a different route, is that going to be maybe the feel for every time we have a story arc with Red Hood and Arsenal?
Yeah, I mean, given my druthers, I would like to. I think it'd be fun if every arc has like tonally feels different, and because the thing is, to me, like when Red Hood and Outlaws first started, everybody kind of was like, well, we know Jason, and he's going to be shooting everybody in the head, and he's going to be, really mad at Batman, and they're going to go to Gotham and shoot up people and cross paths with Batman, and I was like, we've seen that for 10 years now, and so what I thought was fun for people in writing Red Hood. I think Red Hood and the Outlaw fans are people that like to be surprised. Yeah. And so I think that I would not want to disappoint them. So within that context, I think I'd like to change, change it every, maybe the third arc will be a musical.
Which it wouldn't surprise me due to the fact that I believe in issue, it was either 2 or 3, we had like a montage to like Super Mario.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
And like I think one of them was like Street Fighter or something, which is great and very entertaining. Are you going to have your hand in any other comics other than Red Hood and Arsenal in the near future?
I'm doing a mini arc on Teen Titans.
Okay.
And then I'm also currently on Doomed. So.
Oh yeah, which
currently. Doomed.
Yes.
Let's leave it at that.
I would like to ask just one last question. It's
about
kind
Doomed or about?
No, it's about Teen Titan #1.
Okay.
The New 52.
The original one. Okay.
The original one.
Yes.
When you first came on it, there's a rumor that our Kid Flash might have blown up a specific place.
I don't know that he blew up. There's a fire, and because he was not used to using his superpowers,
yes,
he wound up causing a tremendous backdraft, which destroyed this mansion in Westchester.
Yes.
So.
This
was that a question?
This mansion in Westchester, was it a specific gifted school by chance?
I don't know how many. I mean, by that time it would have had to been a what's the word? Institute by that point,
Oh yes, possibly.
Yeah, so
you know, you're right.
Famous, it may have been a famous civil rights figure who was fighting for the right of people who are sworn to protect a world that fears and hates them. but I was not there, so I can't really say for sure.
All right, well, thank you so much, Scott. We really appreciate it, man.
And thank you.